Hotel History is created for adult audiences. Content may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised. You're listening to Hotel History. We take you with us through the sordid history and scandals of some of the world's most famous and infamous hotels. I'm Dieta.
And I'm Yael. Let's get started.
So this episode is another book club episode. I think this is our fourth book club episode so far.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not as many as I wanted us to do, but still pretty good.
We're just getting started. We don't have that much time.
Sometimes.
It's not that I've read like 50 books in between. It's just those books we can't use on.
Exactly. I don't know how to make Quicksilver hotel history related.
No.
I would if I could.
Akatar hotel themed.
Oh, the inn. All of the different inns with one bed.
That's actually really funny. They should make a freaking hotel inn or it hotel inn / whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Romance fantasy themed. This is another $1 million idea. I'm telling you, every time we have a podcast, I come up with another $1 million idea that we don't have the money to invest in. But honestly, that one I would invest in. Yeah. That would be, and think about the design. That would be so cool.
Really cool.
And you would, let's face it, it would just be women in there. It wouldn't even be with their significant other.
I don't know. I follow a lot of men on Instagram now who are loving Akatar and Fourth Wing and stuff. So,
they've straight men.
Yes, they've discovered romantasy and they're very into it.
So their girlfriend made them read it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
absolutely.
What it is. But no straight guy was like, "Oh, this looks great."
Actually, I have a friend who does not read those books, but whose husband does.
Really?
Yes.
Oh. I don't know any. So, that's interesting.
I know, it's so funny. So I send him all of the reels that I would normally send her because she wouldn't get any of them.
That's so funny.
So our book club read this time around was for the retro travel summer theme that we've been having a lot of fun with, and it is called Fly Girl by Anne Hood. It is a memoir of her time as a flight attendant with TWA at the kind of tail end of the glory days of the jet age, right around the time that flying started to kind of suck.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your perspective. So have you read about like what it used to be like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, before we found this book, I read "Come Fly the World," which was a history of Pan Am, and from like the very beginning of it through its demise. Yeah. And so it's a fascinating rise and fall of these airlines.
So here's the thing, like there's pros and cons to everything. You know how like cars used to be really cool looking, and now they're not as cool looking, but they're also a lot more safe.
Yeah, and efficient.
and better for the environment. Yeah.
You probably felt like you were driving a boat with some of those.
Yeah. I've watched too many documentaries about like plane crashes and stuff. And truth be told, like, yes, flying is it's not the most comfortable. I personally think it is, but I have a different perspective on everything. Like the uncomfortable thing about flying, other than yes, it's very squished, whatever, is the customer service around it and the process of going through the airport. That's what I find uncomfortable. But you go on a plane, the fact that you can go in the air and come down safely is like a miracle. And they're like, I'm pretty impressed with it to this day. But back then, it was nicer. You can smoke. You have 4-course meal. You have a sexy flight attendant. You also have a higher chance of dying. And you're spending $1,000 on a ticket for something that now costs $300.
Yeah, which I think is why the customer service back then was so good because flying was a luxury. It wasn't something that normal people got to do. It was
Yeah.
only if you or your company could afford literally almost a $1,500 plane ticket because not everybody, I think, knows that the government used to regulate ticket prices. And so
Yeah.
before deregulation happened in, I think, like 1980, the all tickets had to cost like the inflation.
I think it was the 70s, maybe.
I
Was
think
it
that
the
it took it a minute to like come into effect, but yeah, it was
Oh, yeah.
passed in like 1978, I think, but it
Yeah.
like took a little while to come into effect. But yeah, so all tickets had to cost the inflation equivalent of like $1,400.
Yeah. And so you're technically paying for the empty seat. They weren't as crowded flights because it was so expensive. So flight attendants sound like they were doing a better job, maybe because they had less people.
Yeah, they had less people to have
And
to deal with.
yeah, I mean, they're sacrifices, like it just, to be honest, I rather know that I'm in a safer plane and we're flying at a safer altitude and it's not turbulent. Like it was really dangerous. They were flying lower. People got nauseous more often. It was like really uncomfortable.
Once jets came into the picture, that's when everything went up to 30,000 feet and it got much faster and much safer. Before that, all planes were propeller planes, and so they had to fly at lower altitudes.
There's pros and cons, but also it was really sexist. Okay, so in the book, she's explaining all this, like all the details you want to know about. In order to even qualify to become a flight attendant back then, you had to be weigh a certain amount, be a certain height, be single, have no kids. First, it was you had to be female, then they accepted males. And even with all that, it was very strict. If you're wearing the uniform, you have to behave a certain way if you were seen out
Mm-hmm.
wearing the uniform.
And especially if you were in one of the like stricter airlines like TWA
Yeah,
and Pan Am were exceedingly difficult to get jobs with. They
yeah.
actually mention in the book that TWA, it was harder to become a flight attendant for them than it was to get into Harvard. Like they had a lower acceptance rate for flight attendants than Harvard did for students.
Yeah. And what's crazy, I mean, you feel for her when you're reading the book because this is really what she wants to do. And she applied to everything. And irony of ironies, she gets into TWA versus the other lower airlines.
In one of her interviews, the airline has her come in and the woman who's going to interview her asks her to walk back and forth across the room a couple of times and then says, "Okay, thanks, we'll let you know." Like didn't ask her a single question, nothing. They were literally just seeing if she had the look that they wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. And the things that she had to deal with, like back then, and just how society was and how acceptable sexism was to the degree, like, I mean, that existed back then was like, yeah, they teach us what to do when someone tries to grab us and then put us on their lap. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like that doesn't happen, does it? I mean, I'm sure it happens if someone's like super drunk, but it sounded like
I mean, you could
someone
expect it out of almost anyone.
it was just like bizarre. Like if that happened, I don't know. Does that even happen? I think now what happens is like people get really angry and start yelling and fighting,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
I think it
And
was
there's
a
like,
lot more likely to happen back then because it was mostly men on flights because it was businessmen flying for business purposes. There were not nearly as many women on flights. And so it was men flying without their wives or girlfriends a lot.
oh yeah, that's true. And it was just acceptable. I
Mm.
mean, the things that she wrote about, I'm like, it sounds cool and retro and everything, but it sounds horrible
Sounded
also.
like a lot of work. And
Yeah.
not, I mean, it did sound like they actually got paid pretty decently
Hmm.
for what she was doing. She was talking about how some of her college friends kind of looked down on her for being basically like a sky waitress, but she was making more money than they were in their entry level executive jobs.
The training that you have to do, it's really fucking hard to be a flight
Very
attendant.
hard. People, I know people think, oh, they're just serving us our beverages. No, no, no. That is what you see them doing. But
Yeah.
they know how the plane works. If something happens, God forbid, on a flight, the flight attendant is going to be the one that saves your life.
Yeah, they're really like the caretakers of the flight. You know what I heard? I don't know if it's true, and I think it's really wrong, that flight attendants don't get paid in, unless they're flying.
I remember in the book, she says that they wanted to add, oh, one of the union fights that they were having with the airlines is that the airlines wanted to add like 5 additional hours of flight time per month to their minimum requirement, but that was going to equal like 80 more hours of travel
Yeah.
time and waiting time and all of that stuff.
They need to pay them for when they come to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? It's interesting to get an insider view on the whole process. You kind of like learn if someone wants to be a flight attendant, they should read this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. And she's inspiring because she kind of just did her own thing. I feel like I can relate to her in that like people are like, no, you should go be a teacher
Yeah.
or be a secretary or back then, but maybe today it would be like a nurse. And it's not or any other like more professional steady job or whatever or traditional job. And she's like, no, I have this adventure in me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do the traditional thing. It's not something like, why are you asking me to be miserable? That's like what I want to ask people. I'm like, why are you asking me to do something I don't want to do? If my life goal was to be a nurse and then I became a flight attendant, you can yell at me. But if I want to be a flight attendant and you want me to be a nurse, like,
Yeah.
huh?
And also, all your patients would really not appreciate having someone who didn't want to be a nurse. She knew from a very young age that she wanted to be a writer. And she also had this urge to see things and experience things. And so once she saw the lifestyle of a flight attendant, she had the vision. She was like, yes, I can get out, I can see the world and be paid to do it. I can meet people, I can have experiences. All of those things a writer needs to have. Because she actually just wrote this memoir a few years ago about her time. Before that, she's had a career as a novelist for decades now.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. If you want to be a good writer, you got to have adventures in your life. You have to experience things. You can't just sit at
Yeah.
home
And she
or
talks
do that.
about, she got all of this deep practice in on the flights because she's listening to people, like hearing their conversations and learning about dialogue. And she has all of
Yeah.
this time to, jot down notes while she's sitting in the jump seat during flight time.
But I mean, it just sounds so fun. I mean, but it also sounded like I would never survive the training. I would never survive the rules. Like I am not a rule.
Way too
No,
many rules for you.
authority and me don't get along unless it's safety. I will be good at the safety stuff. I would not mess around with any safety issues. Especially back then. I don't know about now, but the arbitrary rules about women, I would never be able to.
No,
Too much of a feminist.
I'm
I can't do
already
it.
too tall, I'm pretty sure. I think the tallest you could be back then was 5'7", and I think I'm 5'7.5". So I would
Oh,
make
yeah.
the and oh my gosh, and also of course there's weight limits because they like have a chart that says like if you're this height, this is how much you can weigh, this much or less. But at least for TWA, whatever weight you were when you got the interview, you had to maintain that weight.
Yes.
Even if you had room to gain weight via the chart, you weren't allowed to. You had to keep your interview weight, which is insane
Which
because
is really crazy.
your weight can fluctuate 5 pounds in a single day, let alone, a couple of weeks.
I mean, or years.
Yeah, most of them were already like just kind of starving themselves to look really good for their interviews, not understanding that they were then going to have to keep that up for the rest of their employment time.
Yeah.
And so that she talks about going to the Y and sweating in saunas and like barely eating all day long. And even when you're flying and working on your feet all day, trying to do all of that stuff on a couple of cubes of cheese, like No way.
Yeah. No wonder they all had eating disorders.
Yeah.
But also the way that they treated them, just like property, like you have to look like this, you have to do that, you have to be single. There is a little bit glossing over some of that stuff because she mentioned like it was such a fun job for a lot of people. But yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible. And if anything happened, didn't there something happen with a pilot? If something happened and they couldn't do anything, the guy, oh,
Oh, the pilot that ordered the Jack Daniels.
he was drinking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she was like, no. And he just like got up and got it himself. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Who has more power there?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and they're already in the air. It's not like she can be like, turn this plane around.
So there's like stuff like that. I think now it's like there's you can report them and obviously
But and even
there are
at that time,
protocols.
he had a co-pilot or a lieutenant or whatever they call them. It would have been really nice if the other man in the cockpit had said, "Yo, you're not going to drink on this flight."
He also was in the same situation as her and he has no
There was
power.
definitely a seniority hierarchy situation, and he had
Yeah.
less power than the pilot, the captain, but he definitely had more power than she did, and she's the one who said no. He just kind of
Yeah.
like hung his head and ignored it.
It was very enlightening to hear her stories. The fun part of her getting to travel everywhere
Oh my
for
gosh.
free.
Yes.
And I used to be like, oh my God, isn't that too much? But then learning about all the work, I'm like, they deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve to go everywhere for
Yes,
free.
they do. And especially on the trips where they actually get a real layover, where they can spend the whole next day in whatever city
Yeah.
they're in.
Oh yeah, that's something else that she mentions is that she wanted to be a flight attendant, but she specifically wanted to travel internationally. She didn't want to go from like Buffalo
To
to
Cleveland.
Cleveland or whatever. Like she, no one wants that. So she said that when you start out, you get like the least favorable routes, and then as you get higher up in seniority and stuff, you get better routes. And then she was located in Boston
Mhm.
and then moved to Missouri.
St. Louis, yeah.
And then they moved to where else?
And then she finally got JFK.
JFK.
Yeah.
That was like at the end
Yeah.
when they were really like cutting down and she got to travel to Europe all the time and she had her little like I guess fling in Italy or wherever they were and
In Lisbon, that took her around, and exactly the type of fantasy that you imagine.
she needed more stories like that.
I know. I kind of got the idea she was like a goody two shoes a little bit, where she was just like, I'm a good girl, and I don't do those things.
She's inspiring. It was really interesting, but I'm going to give my criticism of the memoir is that there wasn't enough of her thought process and opinions about things.
Yeah.
It was only the facts of what she was doing. Like, I understand you don't have to explain every step of your flight all the time. Like, you can also tell us your opinion about something. Like, it was just very technical, and we didn't need to hear it more than once.
Hmm.
I don't know. It would have been more interesting if we knew if she had an inner dialogue. Some people don't have it.
I would have liked more like conversations that that the flight attendants are having in the galley about their passenger.
Yeah.
She did seem like a bit of a loner.
Yeah. She had the people she was living with.
Hmm.
And then, like she said, she had one friend she would try to get on flights with.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not a lot. But then also, you just need one friend to have an interesting conversation. So, where are those interesting conversations? You're traveling all over. Where are you going? What are you doing there other than just seeing the sights? Like, are you talking to the locals? You should be having flings. Have you ever gotten drunk? Have you ever done drugs? Like, I get it. You have to be responsible. You're a flight attendant. But it's a lifestyle that, like, if you're going to go for adventure, I mean, like, just go for it.
Actually, it sounded like some of the biggest adventures and most interesting times that she had were when she actually was furloughed for a while from the airline and moved to Greenwich Village. in New York. There was a lot of
Oh
interesting
yeah.
things about her life during that time. And I thought that was interesting that it seemed like some of her biggest adventures were just in New York and not happening in Paris and Lisbon and
Yeah, but that's maybe because she could be a little bit more irresponsible, but also New York at that time was
yeah,
interesting. You didn't have to be interesting to
that's
have
true.
interesting things to happen to you. But I wish there was a little bit more spice, a little bit more intrigue, like less technical, you know.
I loved the story. She meets a really cute guy on one of the flights. He's her
Oh
passenger. And they end
yeah.
up like having a relationship together and she calls him one of the great loves of her life. But we find out almost nothing about their relationship after he gets off the airplane.
I thought they had a date and it went bad. Oh, she had a date that went bad and the guy wasn't interested after. Something happened
Yeah,
like
there
that,
was a
right?
couple of those, yeah. And there there was also the one in LA where the guy like takes her back to his place in Laurel Canyon and she's just excited to be in Laurel Canyon because that's where all of the big rock stars of the 70s, 60s and 70s lived and he's clearly expecting that she's coming back to sleep with him and she gets there and is like, "Oh, no thank you." And he's so pissed off. He's like, "What did you think we were coming here for?"
I mean, that was a little naive, but she was young,
She
right?
was very young. Yeah.
She was young.
She was just out of college. She was like 23 years old
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
in 1979 or whatever. So not like a 23-year-old today.
Yeah, but you're in LA in Laurel Canyon and you think, but again, yeah, she
But
doesn't know.
again,
I
yeah,
know.
she had a
I
different
don't know.
upbringing.
No, it's true. It's like innocent mistake. I think 23 back in that day, from based on our upbringing, is a lot more pure of
Hmm.
a 23 today.
Absolutely.
So, and honestly, to expect anything from like a girl from where was she from? Boston? Yeah.
I think she grew up at like in Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode Island, Rhode Island. Like she's not like a metropolitan woman. Like she's a 23-year-old girl. Like,
But of course, he's probably got this assumption that because she's a flight attendant, she knows what's up because there was that
I-
stigma attached to it.
okay, then a lot of mixed messages, I guess. But yeah, I mean, also he's an asshole for like you don't
Yeah.
get pissed, like
Yeah, don't get
obviously.
pissed. And also don't assume maybe she just wanted to see your cool house in Laurel Canyon.
Sounded like a mismatch of
Yes.
intentions.
There were a couple of stories in the book that were a little disturbing, which
Like
I'm
what?
I'm really surprised that there were only a couple. Because I think she flew for like 10 years, so I'm sure I bet she saw things that she's even forgotten because how could you keep them all?
Yeah, yeah.
There was the one where the woman is traveling with her cat in the carrier, but she takes the cat out of the carrier and like puts it in her lap. And when the flight attendant walks down the aisle, she sees the woman breastfeeding the cat.
Wait a minute. I remember this. Is this the origin of that story? You know about this viral? Oh my God. There is videos on TikTok and Instagram where someone is recreating this like a real thing. And and everyone is like, this never happened. This is a joke. This is a skit. Because the videos are skits, like
Yeah,
they're performed. But I didn't, I when I was reading it, I'm like, is this the origin story? Is this where people were getting the skit idea?
that makes sense.
That's gross.
Like, I don't,
First of all, ow.
yeah, right? You think a baby hurts? Oh my God. Something with fangs?
But how is that possible?
I mean, I guess if it was a small enough kitten, kittens latch onto their moms.
Yeah, but you have to be lactating, no?
Well, so maybe she was. I don't know. But she had like the other flight attendants go out and also see it. So, like, they confirmed, yes, that is what's happening. They're like, not only is it already like rare for a woman to be traveling alone on a flight, but then for
Uh,
her to do that.
it takes new meaning to cat lady.
Gross.
Gross.
Yeah. And then the other one was when there was first class full of businessmen and then one woman who came with, and I think that she assumed at first that she was the wife of whoever she was sitting next to. But then she gets up and goes to the bathroom. And then the man she was sitting next to follows her into the bathroom a few minutes later. And so of course she's thinking, oh, okay, Mile High Club happening, like it's not unheard of, whatever. But then the man comes back to his seat and the woman stays in the bathroom. And one by one, every man gets up and goes into the bathroom. And she is losing her mind and is like, what is happening? And so she asks, like, talks about it with the other flight attendants, and they're like, oh, no, like, you get what's going on, right? And she's like, no, what is going on? And they're like, she's a prostitute. They hired her to come do this. And she like, just is like, what?
Why don't I remember this story?
Oh, really?
I don't remember this part.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
How gross. How disgusting.
Disgusting.
I can't.
First of all, why didn't they stop them?
Once again, first class.
Still, I think, okay, that's what I'm saying about flying back then versus now. Even if you're first class, like the flight attendants don't let you do shit.
No.
Like you cannot, and also those bathrooms are disgusting and small.
And so tiny. Like I'm sure they were bigger back then because
they probably were. Bigger.
Everything was bigger back then. They had room to like carve steak in front of everyone back then and offer an ice cream sundae bars. I really, really hope that she charged a hell of a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I'd like to read her memoir.
Right?
Oh, and then the story of her meeting like the sports team, and they all were being really rude and harassing, and she's like, yeah, I'm not taking pictures or
anything. Yeah, because she wanted to get autographs for her dad, who was a huge baseball fan, and then by the end of the flight, she was like, no, screw these people.
This is what I'm saying. Like, yes, it was the golden age of flying, but for who?
Yeah.
Straight white men? Yeah.
Yes. You know, because it was the golden age of everything back then.
How are you okay treating someone like this? So this is what I think the problem was, is that it's not just that it was bad behavior, but it was a blind eye and accepted bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're going to get someone who does something bad, but make sure they don't do it. Don't encourage it, or just be like, it's the 70s.
I know you paid $1,400 for this ticket, but that doesn't mean that you can have sex in our bathroom.
That's another thing about deregulation, is that it took away that.
Yeah.
Because you have too much competition. You're going to get kicked off the flight, and we're going to have about 10 people waiting to take your spot and pay that price for it.
Now people have to worry about the no-fly list. I don't know if the no-fly list existed back then. Some of the other things that she talks about is, speaking of how dangerous it could be to fly back then, the 70s was also the golden age of hijackings on planes.
Yeah.
So she never was on a hijacked plane, but did she say that one of her friends was? I can't remember, but she talks about
someone she knew.
Plane hijackings for TWA.
Yeah, there was no real security. My question is, so hijacking planes existed before way before 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they get their shit together back then?
Yeah, like you could have easily taken a gun onto a plane in the 70s and nobody's gonna stop you.
Yeah.
I want to experience the planes where like they were trying to experiment and like draw more people. So like some planes would have like a cocktail lounge in the back of the plane. Some of them were big enough that they had an upper floor, but you couldn't fly. You couldn't like have people sitting up there in seats. So instead they would turn that into a dance floor, or they would turn it into a bar. Like did all kinds of things. And I think that would have been really interesting to experience.
Oh yeah, the creativity that went into it before regulation of any kind.
Yeah.
And the flight attendant uniforms that would like dissolve because they were made out of paper.
Oh my God. Can you imagine trying to serve a plane full of people in a paper uniform? Whose bright idea was this?
A man.
Or the ones where like they're wearing like go-go boots and hot pants. Like,
By the way, when I went to the TWA hotel and I got that little tour,
Mhm.
we got to see all the different kinds of uniforms that they wore and posters of them advertising it. And you can tell how thin and like second anything spills on it.
All
And it would,
polyester.
yeah, it
Yeah.
looked really bad. But the food, I mean, the things that they would serve people, the martini glasses and the like four
Yeah,
course
china and
meal.
silver in first class, and even still getting a full course meal and a coffee service afterward in coach.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I feel like it's easier for flight attendants. They're like, here's a bag of chips. Get the fuck out of my
They
face.
basically just like throw it at you.
Yeah, yeah. Or like, oh, you want soda? Here's the can. I'm not going to even open it for you. Oh my God. I'm such a sucker for light porn. That sounds gross. You just watch people.
Have really nice flight experiences.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I watch on TikTok. They're like, I'm going on this flight. I got this is my like, but they make it seem like it's not a big like it didn't
Yeah.
cost them $20,000.
Exactly. Like, oh, I do this in economy too. Shut up. You've never flown economy.
Yeah. Right. And they're like, this is my Lemaire mask, and this is this. And I'm just like,
I'm like, that's literally $5,000 of Korean skincare right there. So
yeah.
please don't tell me that you do this in economy.
Yeah. They get champagne. They have the movie set up. They have their, I'm like, oh my God. There's that first class that has a fucking shower.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
But I think it's Emmer. It's like, it's even higher than first. I don't know what it is, but
It's like first class platinum premiere.
yeah. I don't know. I'm like, wow, wow. One day I'll have enough points for that. Conclusion of the book. It was a great read. We really admire Anne Hood and her life choices.
Yes.
And
Looking for like a quick, nice escapist read to hear about somebody who gets to go all the places that you wish you could go.
yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. It was nice. It's definitely good for the travel junkie like we are.
Yeah, I love a good travel book in the summer.
You're gonna live vicariously through these memoirs.
Exactly. So we'll keep the retro travel summer theme going with our next episode on the TWA hotel, which falls right into line with this book because she was a TWA flight attendant. So we'll go a little bit deeper into the history of the airline, but also how they've transformed the JFK TWA terminal into this really cool place to stay. Thanks for listening to Hotel History. You can follow us on most social media platforms, Patreon, and Substack by searching for Hotel History or Hotel History Podcast. To connect or collaborate with us, check out our website at hotelhistorypodcast.com. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so we can reach more listeners.